All right, so we've already learned about simple probability, with the probability of one event occurring. Today we're going to talk about the probability of compound events, which are, of course, more than one event occurring. There are several different types of compound events, but really if you think about each of them logically, you won't really have to memorize a formula. Let's talk about independent events. Independent events are when the outcome of one event does not affect the outcome of the other event. It makes sense. Dependent means they don't affect each other. Dependent events is when events depend on each other. And how to calculate those is you just multiply the first event by the second. And if you have several, you just keep multiplying them if you have more than two. Mutually exclusive events, it says, let's say you wanted to find the probability of rolling a 1 or an even number when rolling a six-sided die once. Those events would be mutually exclusive because they cannot happen at the same time, right? You can't roll a die and get a 1 and an even at the same time. You can't get like a 1 and a 2 at the same time. So if you wanted to find the probability of getting a 1 or an even, you could list, these are the things you could get when you roll a die, and how many of them would make you happy. A 1 or an even, there would be 4 numbers that are either 1 or even, and then you just apply that. So that's just looking at it logically. Let's try some examples. What's the probability of an even number and then spending a 2? Well, the probability of getting an even number on a die is 1/2 because half of the numbers are even, 2, 4, 6. And then the probability of spinning a 2 on this spinner would be 1 out of 8 because there are 8 sections and one of them is a 2, and then just multiply them. So the chances of those things occurring is 1/16. Let's look at the next one. It says if you roll a six-sided die 3 times, what's the probability of getting a 5 on all 3 rolls? Well, the probability of getting a 5 the first time is 1 out of 6 because there's 1 5 on a six-sided die. And that's actually the probability of getting a 5 every single time you roll it. So you just multiply them together to get 1 over 216, right? That's a very small chance, by the way, isn't it? In a jar, there are 4 chocolates, 8 caramels, and 4 toffees. Determine the probability of selecting a piece of chocolate without replacing it, selecting a caramel. So there are 16 altogether. There are 4 chocolates. So 4 out of 16 is the probability of getting a chocolate on the first draw. And then when you take one out, if you take that chocolate out and you don't put it back, now there are only 15 left, correct? And the numerator is how many caramels there are, which is 8. We know there are 8 because the one we picked the first time was a chocolate. So all the caramels are left. And then any place where you can do cross-canceling, you should do it. So 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 16 twice, and then that's going to be 4 over 30, which we simplify further to 215. The reason we can simplify it farther is because really when we had 4/16 to begin with, that's 1/4, right? So we could have simplified that fraction even more. All right, a box contains 5 red pens, 2 blue pens, and 3 black pens. Calculate the probability of drawing a blue pen first and then replacing it. This is different than number 4 where we didn't put the candy back. This time we are not putting the pen back. So how many are there altogether? 10, right? 5 plus 2 plus 3. Calculate the probability of drawing a blue pen. There are 2 blue pens out of 10. And then if we put it back, we still have 10. And then drawing a red, there are 5 reds. All kinds of cross-canceling I can do here to make my life easier. 5 goes into 5 once, into 10 twice, 5 goes into 2 once, 5 goes into 2 goes into 5, and 5 times, goodness. So I get 110. All right, let's try a couple more. The pet store has 8 dogs, 7 cats, and 5 rabbits. If Robert randomly selects an animal to pet, what's the probability that the animal will be either a cat or a dog? So how many animals are there altogether? How many are a cat or a dog? 8 plus. So the chances that he's going to randomly reach in and pet an animal and get a dog are 3/4 or 75%. And lastly, a garden contains 12 roses, 7 tulips, and 8 daisies. If Lily randomly picks a flower to pluck, what is the probability that the flower will either be a tulip or a daisy? So altogether, we've got 27 flowers altogether. 12 plus 7, yep, 27. So how many of those 27 flowers are either a tulip or a daisy? 15. And I can simplify that by dividing by 3/9. Alrighty, so logic, logic, logic. All right, thanks for watching.